Hey, Scott Machine Gun Dad. Welcome back to the second part of my 9/11 story. As I said in the first one, I didn't suffer any loss that day. It was a tragic day for the country, but I didn't suffer any loss. But I want to tell you about some of the experiences. And then I told you about the F-16s. This is a part that shows you how out of touch major police departments can be. I had mentioned that the defense plan for my barracks was to put an orange cone up in the parking lot. So we still had that in place. And after we all got back from the airport, we're sitting around and we're literally watching 9/11 unfold on TV, and then the towers had collapsed. And it was Corps Power to come pick up line, whatever. So I do. And it's Ohio OHP, that's Ohio Highway Patrol, for those of you who aren't in law enforcement, from the Warren Barracks. And we've worked with them before. And they're like, hey, we've got vehicles from fire departments like in Chicago, Detroit, major metropolitan fire departments that have rescued animals. And at the time, we were all holding out that there were still people alive in the World Trade Center. We didn't know they all died. So, okay, I'll send cars down. He says, we've got like 4 or 5 groups of them coming across. So what I did was I sent 2 cars to the line, one in front, one in back. And then they would start across, and then 2 more cars would drop in, and when they got there, it would be one in front, one in back, red lights and siren, as fast as they could safely travel. And they're going to count. There was no traffic on Route 80. So I get this set up. They pick up the first one, and I tell the PCO, call the next station, which I believe at the time was Shippenville on the interstate. Tell the PCO, call them, tell them to set up to escort these cars. So I go in the back. I'm doing paper. There's still paperwork, so I'm doing my stuff. Hey, Corporal, pick up the line. One of the corporals in Shippenville wanted to talk to you. Okay, pick the line up. Tell him who I am. He says, hey, what's the story on this detail? Well, I said, OHP has called us, and they're requesting we escort them across to get people into New York City. And he says, on whose authority? I said, mine. He says, you don't have the authority to authorize that. I says, what the fuck are you talking about? There are policemen and firemen trapped in that fucking building. We're going to send people to help them. We're going to do everything we can. You don't have authority to authorize that. I'm going to check with Harrisburg. In my mind, I'm thinking, you're a fucking douchebag, and you should just do it because it's the right thing to do. All right, do what you got to do. Hang the phone up. Not more than 3-4 minutes later, teletype comes out of the emergency command center in Harrisburg. Yes, teletype. It was on the clean system. It would come over a green screen, and then we would print it out. And it said that to all stations, that you are not authorized to escort emergency vehicles at high speed with red light to the disaster in New York City. You can follow them, but you cannot exceed the speed limit nor run emergency lights. Signed authority, Captain so-and-so, PSP Emergency Command Center. Well, the PCO paged me. As I walked in, he handed me that printout. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Yeah, well, I have this tendency to cause problems. There was a number. Hey! Who am I talking to? Oh, no, I said, hey, I just got this teletype from you guys saying we are not authorized to escort these rescue vehicles across the interstate at speed. And can you tell me who I'm supposed to patch the Ohio State Police into to tell them that their request for assistance and Chicago PD and their request for assistance are all going to be denied? Because I'm not denying them. And the guy on the phone says, what are you talking about? I says, I got a teletype from the command center that says we shall not escort these rescue vehicles. He says, hold on a second. And I guess he had somebody pull up the teletype. I don't know who. Pulls up the teletype. And he's actually kind of like reading it out loud. I can hear him reading it, and he's reading it, and he says, oh. And I said, well, who am I talking to? This is the Deputy Commissioner of the Pennsylvania State Police. I forget his last name. We had 3 of them at the time. And I'm like, oh, got somebody hiring a captain. He said, this order will be rescinded. You go ahead and escort those vehicles, Corporal. 3 minutes later, tall tape. Any previous correspondence from the emergency center addressing that you will not assist other agencies in getting help to New York City is hereby rescinded, and you will grant all assistance whenever possible to escort these vehicles safely. That's all it said was safely, which means red lights and siren as fast as they can freaking go. Because there wasn't anybody on the road. So, you pretty much could say I ruined some captain's career, which I paid for quite a few times thereafter. But to show you that on 9/11, when people were being heroic in a city, some police officers just can't help but be clusterfuck administrative people without any touch with reality. I hope that shows you something. Not going to teach you anything, but maybe get a perspective of why some police officers are the way they are. And you could say that your road officers really have very little in common with most of your command staff. Have a good one.